Are you ready for the fail-safe foundation? Call it a script in your initial meetings with attorneys, right? You got them on a Zoom call, you got them at a lunch, you walk into their office, a tour of their law firm, or they come to your office. What should that initial meeting look like? And we're going to talk about this fail-safe kind of framework for your initial meeting. Okay? So when you meet an attorney, and this comes from Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler is a billionaire entrepreneur. He married Sarah Blakely. She's the owner of Spanx, another billionaire. He's a consultant for high-level entrepreneurs and achievers. This comes right out of his mouth. Don't be sitting down. Be standing up. Have energy. And when you reach out to shake their hand, like this just happened. So this is, if I had a meeting today, this is how it would go. Hey, Mark Slater, pleasure to meet you. And they're going to ask me how I'm doing. How am I doing? Oh my God. Last night, I picked my son up from the airport. He just finished his first semester in college. So I picked him up at the airport. We had wing night. I never eat wings. I only eat them with him. So we had wing night last night. We had a blast. We came home. He saw my wife, and his mom and I were divorced. So he saw my wife and my stepdaughter, and we got to catch up, and we watched a hockey game. Oh man, I'm just buzzing with happiness right now because my son came in. Man, I've won that meeting before it's even started because I just let them know I'm a family man. I'm involved with my son, and I'm just involved. And that's the kind of guy I am. So at that initial meeting, when you're shaking hands and I ask you how you're doing, man, we just got 3 new PI patients sent to the office today. We even got an unattached case. We sent that out to an attorney I have a great relationship with. This weekend, I'm taking my wife to the mountains. We rented a mountain house. Like, it just lets you know you're a family man, you're a hard worker, you're busy, you're serious about business. Jesse Itzler calls that winning the meeting before it even starts. Okay, so that's the first part of the meeting. All right, so you're going to be sitting down at lunch or your Zoom call, and 80% of the conversation is just going to be, who is this guy? Right? Again, is he married? Is he single? Does he like sports? Is he more of a bookworm? Whatever. Does he like, is he more of a Giants fan or a Jets fan? Does the guy like the Dodgers, or is he more of an Angels fan? Like, what does this guy like to do? Is he a hunter? Or is he more of a fisherman? Does he love to play golf? Or is he more of a tennis guy at the country club? Like 80% of the conversation is just going to get to know who you are, what makes you tick. And, so that's 80% of the conversation. Okay, so you got the first part. Jesse Itzler calls it win the meeting before it ever begins. Just get up with high energy, tell them about your day, all the great things going on in your life, to give them clues about exactly who you are. The last thing you want to do is go, hey, it's Mark Slater. Yeah, good to meet you. Yeah, you want to go sit over here at this table over here? No, man, have energy and talk about how you're a winner and that you make things happen. Okay. And then again, the second part is just 80% of it is just getting to know you. Do you have kids? You married, single, or you divorced? You married 3 times, only married once? Just who are you? Right? Okay. And then we're going to get into some shop talk. Okay. So I speak to attorneys, all the time. And I ask them questions to help you. I ask them, what makes you want to send your clients to a new chiropractor or a new doctor, whether it's interventional pain, surgeon, neurologist? Like, what are some things that turn you off? What are some things that make you not want to send your clients to a doctor that you just met, right? Let me explain something. When these attorneys market, right, they're spending a lot of money on Google pay-per-click ads, billboards, radio, TV, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads. I mean, some of them spend $100,000 a month or more to get personal injury clients. So let's say they sign up 50 clients in a month. That's a $2,000 acquisition cost. So these guys are literally paying advertising to bring these clients into their law firms. So they don't have a case without documentation, notes, and a bill. So they have to send these clients somewhere. Why not you? Okay, so here's the 20% of the conversation. Attorneys do not want to quarterback a case. Let me explain. You're going to tell them, well, Mr. Attorney, let's say I'm a chiropractor, right? it's very reasonable for a soft tissue case to send your client to a chiropractor. If I can't get them out of pain in 30 days, 45 days, they're still checking 9 or 10 on the pain scale, I am going to quarterback this case for you, Mr. Attorney. If your client needs interventional pain care from a physician, maybe they need some pain management or injections, maybe they need a surgical consult from an orthopedic surgeon, or possibly a neurology. They have radiculating pain and maybe they need a referral to a neurologist. I am going to quarterback this case for you, Mr. Attorney. And secondly, I'm always going to call and ask you if you have a relationship with the same doctor that I do, because the last thing I want to do is send your client to somebody that you don't necessarily agree with or have a good relationship with. So I'm on your team. I'm going to quarterback this case for you, man. Okay? That's really strong. All right? Here's this other thing I want you to talk about. Talk about your clinical excellence. It could be about your documentation, how you've had Colossus training in your narrative reports, the software that communicates with the insurance company software. Talk about your diagnosing skills. For instance, what you don't want to be is what I call a commodity chiropractor. A commodity chiropractor is a chiropractor that diagnoses sprain, strain, whiplash, myositis, myalgia, cervicalgia. And that's it. Okay. And if that's all the patient has, fine. But if they're just stopping there and not digging any deeper, attorneys really can't do anything with your case, because according to the insurance company, sprain strains heal on their own without your intervention. So you're going to get your bill cut 50% or more. However, if they have whiplash, sprain strain, myositis, myalgia, and cervicalgia, complicated by ligament instability in the motion segment. It's not just the disc. There's 20 ligaments in each motion segment. So if you have the skills to diagnose that, for example, because you take lateral flexion extension x-rays, and whether you do it yourself or send it off to a company that draws the lines of mensuration and generates a report explaining objectively from your x-rays, whether they're static or digital lateral flexion extension, to show and prove ligament instability. And in your notes, you say that ligament instability left untreated could cause long-term disability of the patient. Well, now you validated your care, and I can show you where you can get the reference point of where that sentence come from. In other words, it came from the Journal of Orthopedic Surgery. So if you're able to quote a medical journal about what you're saying in your notes, man, an adjuster has to address that. And the attorney needs to make the adjuster address that. Now you've made the case for the attorney. Okay? You can also tell them this. Hey, Mr. Attorney, I know that you require an MRI 2 to 6 weeks after the injury. Well, why do I say that? I'm asking this to you, the chiropractor. Well, I go to a lot of attorney conventions and seminars. Attorneys whose clients don't want an MRI 2 to 6 weeks after the injury, they're not injured enough for them. They don't want them as a client. Okay, so all of your patients should get an MRI after their MBA, because the attorneys require it, right? It's a really strong diagnostic tool for you. Okay, so we talked about how you're going to quarterback the case. We talked about how you could go a little deeper in your notes and diagnosis and tell a story. You may even want to bring a copy of a redacted settlement check or some notes that said, hey, I billed $12,000 on this case and I got paid my full bill, and show them the notes that generated the payment and the validity of your care in that meeting. So that's a good idea there as well. Okay, so quarterbacking the case, talking about how you go deeper in your diagnosing, right? And then you can also tell them, Peter Fernandez, the consultant, told me this. You can talk to these attorneys and say, hey, I want you to protect my bill as much as humanly possible, right? I'm going to give you all the documentation that you need to get policy limits on this case. So I want you to protect my bill as much as humanly possible. However, I know there are certain instances where you may ask me to cut my bill. And I understand that. I know how to play the game. However, I would love for you to be transparent with me. And if there's other providers, I want to know that you're asking them to cut their bill as well, because usually the chiropractic bill, we've seen them the longest. but we get abused the most. But I want you to protect my bill as much as humanly possible. And as long as you're transparent with me and we have this relationship, I'd love to be a trusted resource for you and your clients. Let's get this business relationship started, right? So you've already addressed some settlement tactics right at that meeting. You tell them that, hey man, I'm a businessman. I take my work seriously. I'm going to give you everything you need to win a case. I just want you to be transparent with me. And by the way, Bar Rule 1.15, the safekeeping of records, by law, or according to the bar, the National Bar Association, they have to be transparent with you if they know you have an interest in the case. Your interest in the case is the bill and the notes that got the settlement. Without your notes, there is no settlement. The attorneys didn't go to medical school or chiropractic school, so they need you. That's kind of the framework of that 20% of the conversation with a new attorney at your lunches, Zoom calls, tours of their office. So stand up with high energy, talk about your day, give them clues as to who you are, what makes you tick. And then 80% of it is just getting to know them, right? What do they like? Then the shop talk is you're going to quarterback this case for them. You're going to talk about your clinical excellence or your diagnostic excellence and how your treatments and all your objective findings generate policy limits for the attorneys. Okay. And then finally, this other point that I wanted to make in these initial meetings is always send a thank you note after your lunch or Zoom call. Not a text message, not an email. Attorneys rarely get emails, right? They're looking for clients and dealing with clients. They're not looking for marketing emails from you. So a handwritten thank you note with your business card in an envelope with a stamp, old school, powerful marketing tool. Most attorneys are used to getting lawsuits and hate mail. How nice is it to get a thank you note from somebody just for having a meeting with them? Okay. So that's how you win the meeting. And that's how a framework of how these initial meetings should go. And then finally, when you're talking with these attorneys while it's wrapping up and you told them about your clinical excellence, you're going to quarterback the case, and during negotiation time, just be transparent with you. You're going to ask them this powerful 4-letter phrase. Mr. Attorney, what do you need? What do you need? Tell me what you need. Sometimes, there's a standard operating procedure, but I want to know specifically what you need in addition to the standard operating procedure that I can provide you. Man, when you ask that question, it's just powerful and the attorneys love it. What do you need, Mr. Attorney? What do you need from my office if you send us a case to help you? What do you need? Okay, so that's the framework of your initial conversation with these attorneys that you're going to be meeting on Zoom calls, lunches, tours of their office, tours of your office. When you get comfortable and just do that same thing every time, so it just becomes a pattern and a habit, then it just becomes easy, right? It's not intimidating anymore. All these guys, they've got problems. They got kids with problems, spouses with problems, problems with their staff, financial problems. We've all got problems. We're human beings, right? They're trying to grow their business too. You, the doctor, as far as they know, you may have 5 to 10 unattached cases come in your office every month, and they love an unattached case from you. Because remember, I told you they have a $2,000 acquisition cost per client. Well, if you send them an unattached case, that's zero acquisition cost to them. That's a free client for them. Not only will they love it and appreciate it, you should ask them to send back 1 or 2 in return, right? But you say, well, Mark, that really doesn't make any sense. I sent them 1, they're going to send me 2. Well, I want you to think about it not in terms of human capital, but actual capital. You are limited by your bill, right? Let's say you bill $8,000. That's the most you can get. If they get a $100,000 settlement and they get a third of that, well, after all the medical bills are paid, the average settlement for a personal injury attorney is $26,000 on average. You are limited by your bill. If they get $1 million settlement, the most you could get is your $8,000 bill, right? So that's why the math doesn't add up. For human to human, it adds up. But as far as personal injury case, the value for the doctor and the value for the attorney are quite different. So they should send you, ask them for one or two in return for this unattached case, right? What's the worst they could say, or, you're guaranteed nothing if you don't ask, right? But the value of asking, if you have a good relationship, is that they'll send you a few more, right? So that's the framework of your conversation. I hope you got a lot out of that. And that's the topic that we have for today.